bring you this news, and I want you to understand what has happened. A moment of history is occurring right now in front of us, and I'm proud to explain it to you.
We had a civil coup that was initiated by Hillary and her cohorts based on corruption and political cronyism. We had a counter coup, which was initiated several days ago by some of the people in 16 different organizations, as you mentioned. However, there's been more and more information coming out, and now we are concerned that two people are specifically targeted by our intelligence system. One is Huma Abedin. The issue of Huma Abedin and her connections to Saudi Arabia and the Salafists, and particularly with those Salafists or Imam who funded Al-Qaeda and subsequently, presumably, Osama bin Laden, she is a very concerned target for us. And the reason for that is, the question is, she was born here in the United States, left after 2 years, and went back to Saudi Arabia. The family's prominent, wealthy. They know, you guys know the story. The real key issue is, how did she come back in 1996, get to the top of the ladder, political ladder, and become an assistant to Hillary Clinton, when in fact her connections, including her mother, her brother, and others, are very much tied in with the Wahhabis, Saudi Arabia, and the government? The answer from my perspective, and possibly from those who I work with, is that she's very much of an agent of influence and both operative and infiltrated on behalf of the Saudi Arabia.
What I really want to talk about is the fact she's been here for a long time. And the question is, who gave her the top secret clearance that she had received after having been here only 2 years after 1996? So the question goes back to who, in fact, in our three-letter agency worked in Saudi Arabia. There's only one agency. It's either Catholics in Action or the CIA, John Brennan, who has been very close to the Saudi Arabians, and also the Israelis. Now, why do I talk about both these issues? The ultimate distraction in this whole storyline with Huma Abedin and Anthony Weiner has been, to me, somewhat of a farce. It's been either contrived or combination of, ongoing problems, but a highly contrived scenario, which distracts from the fact that Huma Abedin is very much of a Saudi agent. However, she married a Jew, a pathetic Jew, but nevertheless, that neutralized the notion that she was a total Saudi influence. At the same time, there's a man by the name who we're targeting named Peter Kadcic, Kadcick. That's news. He works with a law firm in Washington, D.C. called Dickstein Shapiro. I know Dickstein Shapiro. I know their senior partner, Barry Levin. They're not very good lawyers, but they're extremely good at lobbying. 10, 15 years ago, they would charge me something like $600 per hour. So they're not the smartest lawyers, but they could be the most corrupt lawyers in the business. Peter Kadcic was brought into the Justice Department as a result of being Podesta's lawyer, and Peter Kadcic got Podesta off of criminal charges. Podesta, who's as stupid as the day is long, made a comment saying, "This is my kind of lawyer. He makes sure that I never go to prison." So what we have is a Jewish law firm, Dickstein Shapiro, with a Jewish representative, Peter Kadcic, who is in turn going to evaluate and investigate a corruption trial with Huma Abedin. That's a complete farce. And the farce continues because the corruption that's going on between Hillary Clinton and Obama is so serious that when I said weeks ago that we had a civilian coup and that we in the intelligence community informally initiated a counter coup, that's a major, major statement. Now, what's what's been activated is really an American revolution through the words of Donald Trump. He may or may not know the specifics, but that's not as important as the fact that he brought up the temperance and the anger that the American public feels. Michael Flynn, I have the highest respect. I can't say anything more. He was the director of intelligence in the Defense Intelligence Agency. So there are those in the Defense Intelligence Agency with whom I have worked and still continue to work. So we're at a key point. What the intelligence community is saying is that there are several charges that want to be dealt with regard to Hillary Clinton. They want her to be indicted for bribery, corruption, obstruction of justice, lying under oath, and most importantly, it's a RICO charge. That's what we use against the Gambino family and the crime families. And the reason we want to initiate that, and there will be a prosecutor to come forth to prosecute her, whether she gets into the White House or not, is because she has been involved in massive corruption with massive collusion. Now, you're getting other people involved as well. So you're talking about Obama, you're talking about Loretta Lynch, you're talking about a Peter Pieczenik, you're talking about a whole line of people, including the Podesta brothers, who have been involved in this collusion of corruption. We have 5 to 6 days to go. If she is elected, there will be an initiative to impeach her as the President of the United States. Our suspicion is that Obama will not pardon her. The reason for that is Obama's too smart. He too came in through the intelligence system, as I've said before, particularly the CIA. He worked for Peter Geithner. He worked for the Asian Society. He is a front for many of these groups. Contrary to what he said, the story is total nonsense. He was not a initiator of civil action on the local level. He was very much a product of the CIA. But you've got to remember 2 things. Saudi Arabia has had a major influence in our government since the Clintons, the Bush seniors, the Bush juniors, and now Hillary. They wanted to make sure that they had somebody very close to the hand of power. And in this case, they initiated her and penetrated Huma Abedin very early on in '96. And I've got to say, as a counterintelligence agent, they did a very good job, because no one in the press, not one person in the intelligence community, other than the people I've dealt with, have really spotted this. Secondly, there's an issue of diversity that people are concerned about, particularly Obama. Well, we have diversity because Israel has also penetrated our intelligence, as you see with Michael Chertoff and the other people involved in 9/11. So this is a continuation of the corruption and collusion that our government in Washington, D.C. has committed against the American people. Well, they can support Trump with the fact that he said this election is rigged. In other words, when the results come in, they can defy the results and stand up and say, we don't accept the results. And the reason for that is, again, you've talked about, and you had a very intelligent woman talk about the fact that the Diebold machineries and Dominion have really rigged the machineries in such a way that if Hillary is viable, as that lovely lady said, she will win. If that's the case, then the American public have to stand up without violence and say, we cannot accept this election result. There will be no way that Hillary can win legally. Well, there's no question that Trump will be in the forefront. There's no question that Trump will not accept the results of the election. I will also say neither will the intelligence community accept the results of the election. The most honorable thing that Hillary could do, and I doubt she will do it, is to resign. Probably the only person I can appeal to within that family, whom I do know, and I think I regard her quite high, is Chelsea. I've known her since she was a teenager. She has had the same concerns about the Clinton Foundation that we've had. She's had major concerns about the corruption, about the fact that the foundation was taken over by the Podestas and banned, or whoever the man was working with Bill Clinton. She's also the one who gave us the tip-off on the fact that 10,000 Haitians were killed because of the Clinton initiatives in Haiti, and she was dismissed. So I can appeal to her on the part of the United States to say to her, tell your mother to stand down. If she does not stand down, this will continue as a revolution, hopefully civil, hopefully without violence. What I can say about Hillary, you don't need a psychiatrist to basically say what I've said all along. It's a woman who has come to the point of such self-destruction that she in turn will bring the whole country into a self-destructive mode. It's a woman who never really could achieve the aspirations that she stated. In other words, she claims she went to Yale, that's true, but unfortunately she's not as bright as she thought she was. She wasn't as accomplished as she maintained she is. Her judgment is terrible. Her ability to assess strategy and tactics is terrible. Well, I'm going to quote not only Podesta, but I'm going to quote General Colin Powell, who said, everything she touches, she messes up, and then he has the word hubris, with pride. So you have an arrogant, ineffectual, dysfunctional woman who wants to be the president of the United States, has never really initiated anything on her own or accomplished any accomplishment of any significance. She's a total clear and present danger. However, in that sense, I do not want any attempts at assassination. I do not want an overthrow of the government. This is a natural evolution in the world of the internet and the binary numbers. What makes this so interesting is the fact that you, Matt Drudge, Limbo, Sean Hannity, Fox News, Brit Hume, and a whole bunch of others have really pushed the agenda that we've had and understood how to debride all of the nonsense that went on. I want to give special thanks to Lou Dobbs, who on the major networks really kept pushing on and saying, look, you Republicans are a failure. You Democrats are a failure. Let me explain something. I know you think the Chinese are involved in all of this. First of all, I've worked in Hollywood and I'm a member of the Producers Guild. Hollywood is finished. For the most part, they can buy whatever they want. What I want to get to is a far more important point about China. And China is listening right now, and they know I know this. If we want to bring down China, it's very easy for us to do it. 500 million Chinese above the Yangtze and the Yalu River have absolutely no water. The Chinese are poised against the Indian Army. You always keep your gun loaded, but you don't pull the trigger. The Chinese have been warned repeatedly that without water, they're doing what's best for their interest. Right now, everybody claimed the Russians were belligerent. They weren't. The Chinese are really far more interested, and I'm not apologizing for the Chinese. They're far more interested in building a merchant supply system along the lines that the Dutch did. It's the Dutch-Indian model. They are now building railroad tracks in Djibouti, in Africa, in the Indian Ocean. They're far more interested in picking up the resources. Hillary cannot function. She has Parkinson's disease. We mentioned that. Well, the point is, what you want is a definitive end to this person. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen, because the way we work in America, is that gradually we will take away every political power that she has, including Huma Abedin, Peter Kachik, Podesta, and all. Well, exactly correct. We're warning them now that we will go after them, and they are highly vulnerable. And everyone who's been a part of the Clinton Foundation or received money, we have their names. We have their names, we know the amount of money that they've received, and it's very easy for us to pick it off. For example, this Peter Kachik, he better resign, because we can go after him for collusion. We can go after him for irregular activities as a lawyer. If we want, we can go after Dixie Shapiro. They can come back and say whatever they want, but I know Barry Levin. And what I'm saying is, this is a warning to them. This is a warning to everyone there. Now, I do not give a warning. You know as well that what I've said comes around in time. I cannot give you an end point, but I will tell you, come November 8th, Trump will declare the fact either he's won or it's a corrupt election. Once it's a corrupt election, the American public can protest in the streets peacefully and refuse to accept the inauguration of Hillary Clinton. We will not accept that. So there are many months in between November 8th and January before the time she's inaugurated as a president. Hopefully she will resign or she becomes sick. It's not relevant to us. But if Obama thinks he can pardon us, that will not happen. If Biden thinks he can co-opt that will not happen. What will happen again is either we will call for a re-election with another candidate they pick. We will not accept Tim Kaine. He is part of the CIA. He's part of an nonsensical collusion that's occurred. We are also asking that John Brennan resign because he's been a major source of problems for many, many things since 9/11 and onward. This is an issue that's come up among the 16 different intelligence communities, primarily military. I think probably the most important part right now that the President Obama could do before he leaves office. And, I respect the fact that he served 8 years and he's done some good. There are other things I have a problem with, is probably to convince Hillary Clinton to step down. I think that would be the most historical and most grandiose plan that he's ever done. I know he's not thinking about it, but I suggest to his advisors, particularly Valerie Jarrett, who's an extremely sophisticated woman from Chicago. I knew about her father, who was a very great hematologist who worked in Iran and worked for our country, that she should talk to him and Michelle Obama and say, look, this is not good for our country. We need a peaceful transition. And perhaps one of the greatest things that Obama could do as the President of the United States, he did two things that were very important. Turned around the economy, and he made us independent of oil from the Middle East. He doesn't need Saudi Arabia. He really doesn't need to deal with Israel as a little spoiled child. The real issue now is that Obama can sit down with Hillary and tell her, look, all bets are off. Whatever I owed you, whatever happened, I gave you the position of Secretary of State. That I happen to know for a fact. I won't quote who told me, but it was a decision that was made, quite frankly, while I was at the dinner table. She was given that position because it was a loss. She lost the race, and she was whining and complaining, so they made her Secretary of State. She did very poorly. Not just because she didn't know what she was doing, but she initiated a lot of problems in Libya. Forget the Benghazi issue, was worse than that. And then all the issues that came into Syria and Iraq. So what I suggest is that the President of the United States, his entourage at present, Susan Rice, who did come forth, actually, under Bill Clinton and complained and protested, as I did, that Bill Clinton should have prevented the genocide of 1 million Hutu and Tutsis. In the 90s, she was discarded. And I asked Susan Rice and Valerie Jarrett and Michelle Obama to really encourage the President of the United States to allow him to talk to Hillary and say, look, those days are over. The time is over. The American public is very upset. Axelrod, his advisor, came out with very important insights regarding Hillary. And there has been bad blood between the Clintons and the Obama. The issue now is you're asking me what can be the most peaceful denouement to this situation. And what I'm suggesting, I'm not representing the intelligence community now, is I'm suggesting that Obama is the President of the United States. Either convince her to step down, ask someone else to replace her, not particularly Tim Kaine, he's a political hack who works for Terry McAuliffe, but someone else, and let the race continue, or negate the race and allow Trump to come into the position so we have a peaceful transition of power. The message is very simple. I'm talking now on my behalf, but you understand I work informally with other people. I don't work formally in any way. The message is very simple. It's for her to stand down. She cannot become President of the United States. She's not physically, mentally, or psychologically, or financially capable to maintain the presidency of the United States. The 16 units will not work with her. There will be a major, major problem. We still have a civilian counter coup that will work until she leaves the presidency. It's not violent. It's not forceful. We're not going to arrest her. That's not any of those issues. She knows very well her medical history cannot allow her to either lobby for the presidency or maintain any capability to stay in the presidency. If she does not, her targets will be Uba Abedin, Peter Garacek, a whole bunch of Podestas. There will be all kinds of issues that will be brought up. She will be brought up on charges of bribery, interference with investigation, lying to the public, lying to the FBI, and RICO charges. They will be major. Those RICO charges will in fact involve many, many people within the Clinton campaign in the Clinton administration, and all the law firms, including Dickstein Shapiro, cannot get her out of that. And actually, Peter Pieczenik may be part of that RICO charge. I can't speak any more on behalf of what the intelligence community will or will not do, but you have seen so far how effective they have been and how they were able to turn around James Comey. And it was the brave men and women within the FBI, within the other agencies who stepped forward and said they will not accept this. Well, I know, I've met Michael Flynn, General Flynn. I admire him amazingly. He's been very effective. I actually went to one of his meetings where he brought in social scientists. He understands the psychological perspective of intelligence. He's been brilliant in terms of targeting. He's brilliant in terms of the ability to state exactly what the intelligence community can and cannot do. He's defied all of the people in the policy areas. And he's an unusual man. He should be the Director of National Intelligence, and he probably will become Director of National Intelligence. But Michael Flynn represents only a small part of a much broader group of people who I can tell you come from all backgrounds. This is the second American Revolution. I wrote about it in Maximum Vigilance. I wrote about a coup 20 years ago in Maximum Vigilance against the President of the United States. It was not only a hard coup, it was a soft coup in what we're talking about now. But the American public has to understand this is really a change and a revolution in the internet age. And Alex Jones and Matt Drudge and all the others, Lou Dobbs and Fox, has been a part of this coup because it's occurring on the internet and on the binary numbers. God bless your audience, will you? And thank you, Al.
Public. I bring you this news, and I want you to understand what has happened. A moment of history is occurring right now in front of us, and I'm proud to explain it to you.